Hey, all right. Welcome back to the BlackTribe podcast. We have Lisa Marie Black. I'm Gary Black. Welcome to 2024. And we're tackling a pretty big issue here that I know a lot of people have talked about. I've listened to a lot of different podcasts, done some research. I know you do more than I do, babe. But we're going to tackle this from our perspective, from a science perspective, and also from a spiritual side. And we ended, by the way, you were anointed and you killed it on the last podcast. If you guys didn't listen to part one of this, make sure and go back. But we ended with most men in ministry and CEOs in business, and right, we're trying to build our own empires.
Yeah.
We leave our families kind of in the dust.
You're told to.
I was trained that it was God, my call, and then my family.
And everyone you worked with still telling you.
Everybody's still, yeah. I mean, most of my guys still believe that. My older ministry guys, and so
they leave that girl behind. You don't need her.
Don't need her. In fact, so many of them try to remove Lisa from the equation over and over and over again till I finally just went, I'm not doing this anymore.
No, actually, I said, honey, I'm the best part of you. We should do things together.
All right, you're either watching us on patreon.com/Gary and Lisa Black, or you're listening to our BlackTribe podcast. It's on every platform. We're tackling pornography and what it's doing, not just to marriages and children, but to humankind, to all of human, sex trafficking, and everything is driven from this. What's happening with all of the social media and all the things that are just, it's an onslaught.
How many things do you think you get a day on your LinkedIn and everything that is either a bot or whatever?
Nonstop.
It's just boobs and
and LinkedIn's getting worse than the other ones.
What the heck?
It's all these bot fake Asian women that want to connect because you have a great profile. It's like, don't think so. Shout out to 719 Lending for the studios. Thank you. Part 2, babe. I want you to hit with what you ended on part 1 with. And then let's flow right into where you want to go today.
I think everything that's happening right now on the earth is kingdom versus empire, which, we're all a little slow to every party, but, obviously that's what Jesus was talking about. And now we're like, hey, maybe this is what Jesus was talking about. Yeah. And we're just, the last 3 podcasts we did was just about the falling of all these leaders, and people are shocked. And I'm like, really? You're shocked? I mean, it's why are you shocked? I mean, we've literally done everything opposite in the American church, in the Western church. We've done everything opposite of what Jesus had told us to do. And now we're shocked that it's not working out. We're shocked that these mega church pastors are falling and cheating on their wives and sleeping with little boys. And we're shocked that our political leaders have an entire island where they go to rape children. What? We thought he was a good man. Why? Why did you think he was a good man? And I think that we have all these compartmentalizing that we've done, and thinking that because a person says this on Sunday morning, that they do this on Saturday night, and this person is this person and that. Jesus was very clear about calling out the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the people that were dressed in their holy garb and made these big fancy speeches and were educated and had the money and did this, but treated widows and orphans like they were dirt. This is what he was saying. Like, you are stepping on what is holy and righteous and good and actually matters to build your own empire. And they hated him for it. Right. And he died for it.
And he called him some pretty serious
names.
names.
Was pretty serious about it.
Yeah.
So
sorry, I was trying to find I wanted to read something about the church, but keep going.
Anyway, so I don't know why people are surprised. I think that things are going to continue to be exposed. I don't think we should be shocked. I also don't think we should. What's wrong?
We're good.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. So is that what you wanted me to talk about?
I did.
Okay.
Yep. And now where do you want to lead us? Because we were having a really good conversation before we started, just about, and again, shout out to, what's the website again?
The best research that you probably can do or get help for or send to people, or just do, any research on your own, is Fight the New Drug.
Fight the New Drug, yes.
Which sex trafficking is probably, and pornography is probably, I think, number 2, if not has taken over.
Yeah, I think it's number 1.
The
trillions now.
Trillions.
Yeah. And so that's a really good point. I just want to make sure you guys are getting that. So we've watched our political leaders with the Epstein list. We've always known this. Both sides, guys. This is why we don't live in the political realm. We don't live in this world. We rise above that, and we live in a kingdom world.
If you think Republicans or Democrats
Yeah.
are holier on one side than the other.
It's ridiculous.
They're
It's a ridiculous
all
fault.
just building their own
Trump
empire.
is better than this guy or that guy.
They're all the same.
They are pigs.
And they don't care about you.
And they
or
don't
your kids.
mind being pigs.
No.
Okay? So we bless them. We want to see them come to Christ. We want all that, right? But we know what it is, and we can call it what it is. Call a spade, right? We know that in our church world that we just lost one of our greatest guys. And he was literally, what's the word for it? When you're grooming my interns, grooming other people through the prophetic and destroying lives and children, and because they're focused on building their empire. They're getting their pleasure from building their empire, being on that stage, having those likes, traveling all over the world. That's what gives them pleasure, not their bride and not their family.
But we have no one to blame but ourselves.
Yes.
Because we make these people gods. We give them way too much authority.
Hey, look, this is important. This is a truth bomb. Pastor is mentioned one time in Ephesians in the Bible, never mentioned anywhere else. And there's no credentials around it. They don't have to be the husband of one wife. It was never supposed to be built around a pastor. We thought we were cool and we weren't going to be the Catholic Church. And so we're not going to do priests and we're not going to do sacraments and we're not going to do, and the evangelical world did exactly what the Catholic Church did.
Just with different titles.
They made the pastor the idol instead of the priest.
Which really, honey, what is a pastor? Is it just basically a shepherd?
It's a shepherd. It's somebody who needs to come alongside the flock.
Which is an
They're not supposed to be teaching every Sunday. Teachers are supposed to teach, and not every Sunday. Right? They're not supposed to be the prophets who are making better prophets. They're supposed to be shepherding people's hearts. Period. Most pastors suck at teaching. And we've made them, and how we've built this whole broken system. And guys, again, we are the bride of Christ. We love the bride of Christ. We love this. We don't go to church. We go from church, right? We become church. So don't get me started again.
Okay, we're not going to go on all that. That's a whole different subject. Anyway, let's just talk about I know.
Come on.
Well, anyway, don't make us anything other than we're just people. We're moms, dads, grandparents.
Well, if you listen to the last podcast, I had to get pretty vulnerable of stuff I've dealt with recently, and then how do you overcome that stuff? So, all right.
Anyway, the point is that if you are having any counterfeit in your life, you are going to miss the real thing.
Okay.
And let me tell you, the real thing is amazing.
The real thing is the real thing.
The real thing is
So say that again. If you have a counterfeit in your life,
any counterfeit
anything
in your life, you're missing the real.
So if you have
thing.
a Toyota truck instead of a Ford truck, it's counterfeit. Okay.
If you have a foreign car instead of a Ford.
I'm speaking Lisa's language.
True. Yeah. I was, those of you that don't know, I was born in Detroit. And when you are born in Detroit, the Motor City, you don't pick your religion. Your religion is if you're Ford, GMC, Chrysler, that's
right.
what it is. So.
Right. And you're Ford.
I am not Catholic or Baptist. I am Ford. Okay, anyway. So let's look at what this counterfeit is and what damage is done.
Okay.
I lost my ever-loving mind when 50 Shades of Grey movies came out.
Yeah, I remember.
The reason I lost my mind was because it was written by a woman. It was sold to women. And I wrote a blog about it. I mean, what happened was we were in the mountains with 6 other couples who were very well off. And all of the women, they were older than us. We were in our 40s at the time, and those couples were in their 50s or 60s. All of the women were reading the books. And I had not met them before. We'd only known the one couple. And I just was getting to know them. And I asked them, why are you reading these books? And they're like, well, they're hot. And so me being me, I was like, do you want your daughters to read these books? And they were like, oh God, no. Okay. Do you want your husbands to read these books? They're like, oh no. Do you do these things with your husbands? No. Are you having sex with your husbands? No. Okay, I was so flabbergasted by this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then these movies, which were so horribly, I'm a writer. I love good writing. I don't care what the premise is. I respect good writing. Horribly written books, we'll just put that there. And it's bondage. It's slavery. It's a man that if he was not a millionaire and he wasn't good looking, he would be in prison because he was a rapist who tortured women.
It's a counterfeit. Yeah.
It is. It was counterfeit, and it was being sold as sexy, and it came out on Valentine's Day. And I couldn't believe that educated women that were married would put their money and encourage something that they would not participate in personally, didn't want their children involved in, and wouldn't want done to them. But were going to put their money towards an industry that encouraged violence towards women and children. And I couldn't believe they didn't see the connection.
Now, I know some of you, especially ladies in your 30s, are thinking that's religious and that's kind of too
Listen,
harsh.
nobody loves hot sex more than me, and you know this.
I do know that. Thank you, Jesus.
There's not much that I
Time
don't
to pray in
enjoy.
tongues,
Yes,
shako.
I know.
Okay. I know that, but I know there's this pushback, and we've had it
Yeah.
many times, especially over this issue, that these women love it and think it brings pleasure to themselves at least, maybe not to their marriages.
I think these women were lonely, and I think they were sad. And I think that they didn't know how to. This is what I left the weekend with. After I came down off of my pulpit of anger,
Yeah.
of like, do you not realize that women are going to be raped because of this? Do you not realize this is going to feed rape, that this is going to feed little girls getting abused? Do you not realize? I mean, I'm always stunned by the ignorance of people not understanding the fallout of these things and their responsibility in it. Like, you're responsible for a 3-year-old getting raped. Honestly, that's how I feel. I think it's a total breakdown of relationships. I think these women had no intimacy with their husbands. I think that these women had lost the art of expressing to their husbands, I want this with you. And I think their husbands had lost the art of, can we have a conversation about what I would like to do and what you might like to do? Maybe their husbands were looking at pornography all the time. Maybe they felt completely degraded. Maybe they felt like they weren't good enough. Maybe they didn't feel good about their bodies. Maybe all these different things. I think they were victims of what they were engaging in.
Yeah.
And they couldn't see it.
That's good. Yeah, I read a thing the other day. It's like, why? And I didn't like it at first, I'll be honest, but it's like, there's no reason to have sex scenes in movies. What's the point? The point is that we can justify any kind of pornography addiction in us, right? Or any kind of that lustful thing by watching a movie with a bunch of sex. And they're like, well, there's no reason to have sex in movies. They literally destroys that whole point of who's trying to write it. And I always, because I'm married to you, and you are an incredible writer.
Thank you, dear.
And you're always bringing that out. This is written so terrible.
You can't unsee it now, can you?
I can't unsee it, right? And I think a good writer wouldn't have to do that because you would be in the pleasure of it without having to see it.
If you're a good writer, you don't have to like put it out there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the point? Like what? Okay, so men are created by God as visual creatures.
Yes.
Why?
You tell me. Tell us.
Okay, so Adam had to pretty much populate the earth.
Yeah.
He's got to be ready to go, right? So a woman ovulates really only 24 hours out of the month can a woman actually get pregnant. Maybe 48 hours, whatever, right? So we can't really get pregnant at any time during the month. And then we're pregnant for, 40 weeks. So we really can only have one baby a year, whatever. Not so for men. And women have a shorter period of time where we're fertile in our lifetime. Men can start fertilizing and go into their 80s. I mean, it's just completely different for men.
Yeah.
So men are ready to go like that. Women, not necessarily so. So men are primally ready to go by visualization.
Yes.
So that's in you guys. Women, not so much. We are in our emotions. We are in the touch and the feel and the senses of everything. So God made us completely different. Thank God.
Right.
Right? So God's plan in this was for us to come together in a partnership of emotions and senses and visualization on all these things together. It wasn't supposed to be this separate thing. And so the enemy has gotten in here and taken your visualization and our emotions and separated us completely. And that's what pornography has done. And it's taken the beautiful sensitivity of a woman, which we just had a conversation with a beautiful woman this afternoon about her emotions, which are beautiful and pure, freaked a man out.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's bad. Your emotions are bad. You're a woman.
Right.
Your visualization is bad. You're a man. You're a pig.
Right.
None of that's true. You are primed to see things visually and be stimulated by that. So what I teach my female students is it's not personal that he is stimulated by visualization. It's primal. It's not bad that I'm stimulated emotionally by my senses. That's primal in me. God designed that in me. So it's our job to come together in that, in intimacy. The enemy has shortcut that to say,
really good.
I'm only gonna focus on this in you and focus on this, and I'm gonna divide the two of you in it.
Yes.
So pornography comes in and says to you, I'm only gonna focus on this in you and this in you, and you're gonna hate each other in it. I'm gonna focus on her insecurities and make her think she's not good enough all the time, and I'm going to keep her stuck in that. And I'm going to focus on you and make you think that you're just a machine, and you're not going to have any feelings, you're not going to have any emotions, you can't relate to a woman, and you're just a sex machine. And I'm going to feed it, and it's going to grow, it's going to grow, and it's going to grow. And the only way a woman thinks she's going to please you is become that thing that doesn't actually really even please you.
Right.
Because it can't get fulfilled.
Right. Never
and
ends.
it's got to grow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of the harmful things about pornography is it might start with cleavage, but it's not going to stay there.
Right. We love cleavage, but can we get enough of just looking once?
No. Right?
Right. We're stimulated.
It's stimulated.
Yeah.
But it's always going to grow into something more and something more. Like we were talking in the last podcast, the men in Africa that did these vile things weren't born with thoughts like that.
Right.
Something has come in that has grown into a dark, dark place that has escalated. And that is what pornography has done. Like, I don't think that people are necessarily born with these horrible, dark thoughts.
No.
It's been introduced somewhere.
Right. Well, we were born in goodness. We were born with God's thinking, God's image. Mm-hmm. We were born in really good things. Yes. And then the fall of man happened, and now we have to wrestle through all these things. But we have to wrestle through all these things. Guys, this isn't like against you if you're looking at porn or girls or any of that. This is, how do you become aware that this addiction or this problem is hurting your relationships and hurting the world? And then how do you walk away from that and start to realize that this was all counterfeit in my life, and I want the real thing. I want what's right in front of me that God gave me as a gift, that's beauty and pleasure and all the good things that God loves in pleasure and in sex, instead of trying to find it somewhere else on a 10,000 little pixels of some little girl.
You're trading a real woman.
Santa Claus with his shirt off and his white beard.
It was pretty hot.
Very hot.
It was very hot. You know, we're going to get you a little Santa outfit for next year.
Okay, let's go. All right.
Okay, so it is the evolution of that, and that leads to sexual dysfunction. So where a normal sexual function in a man will progress into a healthy relationship with his wife, with a woman, it is going to progress into looking for status. It can't be satisfied anymore. So now we've got 20-year-old men on Viagra. They cannot achieve an erection with a real woman now.
Right.
Which, how does that make a woman feel?
Yeah, not so good. Although, if the woman is in shame and this is all she knows, she doesn't even think that's a bad thing.
What do you mean?
I've had conversations with 20-year-old women who say, well, yeah, of course he takes Viagra. That's not a bad thing. Why would that be bad?
At 20?
In their 20s? Yeah. It's a horrible thing. But to them, it's normal now.
Wow.
They're so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're desensitized.
Yeah.
Right? We're desensitized. Like, we watch things, comedians and stuff we would have never watched 10 years ago.
I know, that's really true.
Right? The media, the world, the enemy has desensitized us to where a 20-year-old man thinks it's normal to take Viagra because he's looking at porn and whacking off so much. He has to take Viagra to have sex with a regular woman. And a young woman goes, oh, that's normal. That's all these guys do. Right? It's just become the norm. The counterfeit has become the norm.
And the sacred.
Yes.
There's a lack of sacred. I mean, it's amazing to me. Like, even we were watching the news last night and they were just talking about the Epstein stuff and they were talking about orgies and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't think I could ever participate in that because I'm just like, the privacy and the sacredness of the act of intimacy to me is a sacred thing.
And we need to get the sacredness back.
And the sacredness has been just torn away where people just like they're just doing anything anywhere in front of anybody without any kind of it's just there's no consciousness almost. There's like people are just out there literally.
I was coaching a young guy in his 30s a couple days ago, and he said to me that he's really worried about a mission trip that he was about ready to take by himself, and he's a virgin and he wants to stay a virgin. And he's looking for a wife, and he's worried that he could cheat out in this place that he's going because a couple of the women there that he'd been there before were really attracted to him. And I said, I don't think you will. I said, I think you are good at your core, and I think you're a man of God who walks by wisdom and walks by the Scripture and walks by Holy Spirit and the Rhema word. And I said, I think when you're presented to be in that position, I think you're going to choose to walk away from it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the message we got to start giving the next generation. You get to walk away from this. You have it in you to walk away. I'm going to give you some tools to do that. I'm going to tell you how you do that. But you actually are good at your core. God made you good. And repenting, guys, means getting back to our original goodness that we've talked about so many times. And so when I see something, or I have a person, a woman, offer themselves to me, which has happened, I get to make a choice.
Right. And
I get to say, Father, I'm going to repent of this, of even having the thought. I'm going to return to my original goodness, and I'm going to walk away from this. And I can do that every single time because that's who I am. That's who I've become.
Isn't that interesting, though? Because I've never looked at any of this stuff, and so that's never been in my mind. And so I never thought that way, and therefore I didn't do those things. I mean, honestly, like, self-control is a fruit of the Spirit.
Yes.
And so if you're thinking on those things, like, I wasn't looking at pornography and I wasn't reading, pornographic material, and I wasn't doing those things. And so if I got on a flight as a single woman, which I did often, I wasn't thinking the guy next to me was going to follow me in the bathroom and we were going to do something, because I wasn't thinking that way.
Right.
I was thinking that I was going to conduct myself like a lady, and I didn't sleep with men I wasn't married to.
Right. It's what you
where
feed.
Your brain is,
right?
And if you're thinking those things, and I know people I probably don't make sense to a lot of people because I'm like a prude who's incredibly sexual, but I am sexual within the bounds of when it's appropriate to be sexual.
Yes. And she's my wife. Everyone.
Yeah. Right?
Beautiful.
But
100%.
it is not that sex is bad. It's that within the bounds of when it's appropriate, it's amazing. If I take it outside of those bounds, it isn't amazing. I'm confused sometimes why people haven't connected their depression, their anxiety, their brokenness, their fears with the fact that they have a lifestyle that is just chaos.
I dare you guys, if you are having one night stands and you're feeding this pornography addiction and you're being sexually promiscuous outside of marriage, I dare you to go watch Jordan Peterson on what he says about it. In one little clip, you're a narcissist, literally the same spirit as a pedophile, because it's all about your pleasure. It has nothing to do with the person. I mean, he goes off on this subject, and it is brilliant, because if I'm giving myself to one night stands, it's all about my pleasure. has nothing to do with the other person. And that what that means is that I am, what did he call it? When you do the same thing over and over again, what do they call it?
Insanity?
Insanity.
Want a different result?
You're literally walking in insanity by doing that over and over again, because all it is for is your pleasure. When it's your personal pleasure, it's not the pleasure that God created and intended for us. It's the counterfeit.
1,000%. Exactly. Like, what are you, you want, like, this is what I always think is like, people want, especially this generation, they want this intimacy. They want this fairy tale. They want this lasting love. They want this, but they think it magically happens. They think that they're going to run into their soulmate, because we've seen all the shitty movies. Like, they're so stupid. I always tell you, like, when we're watching a movie, I'm like, this is what messes you up when you're a single mom. This movie right here, you think that you're going to go to the PTA meeting and this really hot dad's going to be there, and he happens to be a surgeon, and never happens like that. He's always, it's never happens like that. You don't run into things. You have to plan your life. If you want to have a healthy body, you got to eat some vegetables and you got to lift some weights. If you want to have an organized house, you're going to have to clean it. If you have to plan your life. If you don't want to have anxiety and fear in your life, how are you organizing your life so it is that way? If you want to have good thoughts, what are you putting in your mind?
Right. What are you feeding?
What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And if you want to meet someone and have a fulfilled, happy life, what kind of partner are you?
Right.
And if you want someone to be faithful to you, are you being faithful to them now?
Yeah.
Like this one kid that you and I meet with regularly, like, he hasn't found his wife yet, but he is the most faithful husband I've ever met in my life.
Yes.
He is such a good husband right now.
Yes.
And if anyone thinks that kid is not going to have the most amazing marriage and the most amazing little wife and the most amazing little family, he is sowing into what kind of marriage he wants right now. He is a good-looking kid.
Yeah,
he's a
beautiful.
Smart kid.
I was on a prayer call with him this morning, and he brought conviction to my heart because of the way he's been studying the Word coming into the new year and what God's been speaking to him. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like, he gives himself, and we have other people in our lives that are close to us that all they do is feed their emotions.
Yeah.
So anytime we bring something up, they lose it.
Right.
Because their emotions rule their lives.
Exactly.
And we're called to rule our emotions, right? Our soul. Our soul's not bad, it's just not spirit. And we were just talking with a lady this afternoon, and I was reminded that what Danny C. taught me of when his son and his daughter-in-law and his 3 grandbabies were all killed in one accident, headed to his house for 4th of July. While he was passing out when he got the phone call, he said, he doesn't know how he said this or why he said this, but he said, "Father, please move this from my soul to my spirit." And when he came to and he processed it, and we processed it together on a podcast, it's a really good podcast. He said, when in our soul, it stays fragmented. So if I live in my emotions, if I live by what everybody else thinks, if I live in racism or hatred or any of those things, if I'm sexually going out with everybody else, married or not married, if I'm just feeding my own pleasures, that's all soul level, and I'm fragmented all the time. I can't get out of my thoughts. I'm full of anxiety. I'm depressed. I'm suicidal thoughts. All the things I hear all the time from young people, right, and older people. But when I can move that into my spirit, that's where it gets redeemed. Mm-hmm. So the discipline is, Father me through this tragedy or this emotional addiction that I have, whatever it is, this pronoun, Father me through this, move it from my soul where I'm getting fed, everything, endorphins, all the things, and move it into my spirit where it gets redeemed. I want to ask you a question. The last time, if you're in the presence of God, now I don't know what that means for you. I don't think there's much presence of God going on much in America, even in our churches, but if I try to go into the throne room every day, like I sit and I meditate and I listen to really good, just Jesus, not worship stuff, but Jesus music, like the names of God. And I imagine myself going into the throne room of God, going to heaven to bring heaven to earth.
Oh, so powerful.
And when I go in the throne room, do you think I could look at pornography?
No.
Or I could lie to you about something, or,
no.
Or my emotions would overwhelm me? When you're in the presence of God, you are in the presence of the Creator. you're not dealing with any of those things. You're in the spirit, and everything's being redeemed. When I'm feeding myself murder podcasts and 50 Shades of Grey books and all the bullshit that we do, then that's where my mind goes. And when I'm in that presence, I can do all kinds of things that I never thought I would do.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
So it's all about breaking the soul ties. And I'm watching, because we do so much on marriage, and I post every day on our All Things Marriage and Relationships on our Facebook page. I read all of these different marriage people, Twitter, different places, and every one of them say it's your soulmate, your soulmate, your soulmate. I don't buy that.
No.
I don't think we are connected in the soul. I think Lisa and I are connected in the spirit.
Yeah. God
created our covenant to do this together as one. We become entangled, the word means.
Yeah.
We become entangled as one, and it's the picture of us becoming entangled with God as his bride. We are the eternal Eve. We all are the Proverbs 31 woman. I need to become the Proverbs 31. It's not about a woman who does it. It's about his bride becoming the eternal Eve. As he was the eternal Adam, I get to become, all of us do, the eternal Eve and become entangled with him. And we learn that in what God created marriage and relationships to be. The counterfeit says exactly the opposite of that. It's never going to be good enough. There's nobody good out there. I'm never going to get married, or I can't stay married. We get in our soul and in our thoughts, and it destroys everything around us.
And it's also self-centered.
Shako.
And I did want to publicly acknowledge that I love what you do on the marriage pages, but I also want the world to know that you actually are that man. I mean, I've had COVID since Christmas Day. Couldn't even move. I'm still really not okay. And you did not leave my side. I was like, dude, go see a movie. Do something. The whole world was shut down because from Christmas to New Year's. And you must have been bored out of your mind. But you just took care of me and you just served me. And
you understand that that's easy when you're living in that spirit.
I know,
place.
But
it would have been miserable for me if I was in my soul. I would have wanted to get out, and I would have been angry.
Right.
And all the emotions that come. But because I've learned every day to create the garden in my little office so the Father can come and speak to me.
I know.
People who tell me that God doesn't speak to us, guys, it's because you're not listening.
Exactly.
You're not creating the garden for him to walk in the cool of the day and commune with you. He speaks to us all the time. We have to create the space for him to do that. If I wasn't doing that, I would have been angry.
And you could have found other things to do and entertain yourself, and you would have had good excuses to do that. And I wouldn't have known because I was unconscious and just pain and whatever.
You didn't get out of bed for 4 days.
I know. I was very, very sick. And I just think I'm sad for a generation that's being robbed of the beauty of real intimacy in a marriage, because they think it's magically going to happen because of this other person that they're going to meet is going to fix all of this. And these women that I talk to they're just like, I don't even know what to do. Like, we have kids together and I love him and he has all these beautiful traits, but he's in there doing this and it's another woman. And other women, or maybe kids, I don't even know what's happening in there, but it's not me.
Right.
And it rips away at the intimacy. And if people would understand this concept, that if you would have conversations about, and you would study that one woman,
right?
You would study that one woman. It would blow your mind. It would blow your mind.
Yes.
What you would actually physically, emotionally, spiritually experience.
Because it's a spiritual experience.
It's a spiritual experience.
Not a soul experience.
I can't even explain to people, there's nothing you've ever seen or experienced that even comes close to the true intimacy of what God designed for you.
Absolutely.
It goes beyond a physical act. It is mind-blowing when you actually invest in the intimacy of a true marriage.
Yes.
And that comes through focusing on another person. Your needs are met way beyond.
My needs are so freaking
I know. That's what I'm like, by you serving me, your needs are met. By me serving you, my needs are met.
It's unbelievable.
But the thing is, I don't think about my needs very often.
Right.
I think about your needs all the time, and you think about my needs all the time, but our needs are it's just an upside down kingdom.
It is.
And that's what this whole thing
is about.
And we
bought into the counterfeit.
And no one is satisfied, and everyone is looking for more, and everyone's dying. They're dying in depression. They're dying in anxiety. They're dying in loneliness. Everyone's so lonely.
Yes.
And they're just putting all this stuff in them all the time, trying to fill this hole, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I'm saying, let's just all go back to the garden.
Yes.
Let's just close these computers and turn off these phones and go back to the garden, because everyone has someone in their home that's just as lonely, and we're all missing it.
100%, baby.
I mean, you want to find church, have a baby and breastfeed it.
Yeah.
You want to find church, go make love to your husband.
Yes. Shako.
Keep your eyes open.
Oof, we had church last night, baby.
Yeah, babe. No, seriously, like, you want to find Jesus, like, bring your man his favorite meal and kiss him on the forehead, turn on his football game, and just leave him in peace.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, it's so simple, and we're making it all so hard.
All right, we're going to jump into the ever-growing body of research that's happening scientifically all over the world. We're going to jump into the negative long-term effects and what it's literally doing to our society, to our culture, all over the world. And we're just going to jump into a lot of what these Fight the New Drug guys have found.
Yep.
And we want to encourage you, go check it out. Go check out their website. If you're struggling with this, guys, again, we said on the last podcast,
there's so much hope.
Break the addiction by saying, I break the agreement that I'm addicted to this.
Mercies are
and
new.
you pray it every day until it's broken. And then you walk in the opposite spirit of it, and you start to become free.
It's
and
not hopeless.
I promise you,
it's not hopeless.
Your wife wants you free. Your husband wants you free. Your children need you free. A generation is longing to see a man of God on a stage that's free from all this bullshit. The generation's longing for the false crap we've been teaching about leaving this planet, all this stuff we're doing. The generation's dying.
Yeah, quit focusing on getting out of here and live here now.
Well, the whole thing of Revelation is we're to bring heaven to earth.
Now.
If we're not doing
right
that,
now,
that is what blots us out of the Lamb's Book of Life. When we're not operating in bringing heaven to earth. It's not about going to heaven one day. That literally is what stops. You think your name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and you're living an old covenant, and I promise you most of you are, and you're asking God to do things for you, and you're waiting to get off this planet because he's going to destroy it. You are living old covenantally, and your name may not be in the book.
Gary, you can't say these things.
I just said it. Okay. God bless you guys. Love you. Hey, if you have questions, pushback, whatever, we could love it all. Go to GaryandLisaBlack.com. You can email us from there. Make sure and join our newsletter there and listen to older podcasts. We'll put these out over the next few weeks on our patreon.com/GaryandLisaBlack, and we're just going to have some fun going down this road and seeing where God wants to take it and dive it deeper.
So much hope.
Thanks, baby. I love you.
Bye.
Bye.